Hi, I'm Tom, and I've never seen the Titanic, but I have seen The Room at least 3 times.
And I'm Sean, and I think Forrest Gump is fine. There, I said it.
And this is Flix and Flops, the podcast where we watch movies, talk nonsense,
And pretend to know what we're doing.
grab your snacks, lower your expectations, and let's ruin some cinema together.
Because nothing says film analysis like two friends arguing over whether Nicolas Cage is a genius or just bored.
And welcome back to another episode of Flix and Flops. Sean and I saw a movie that I honestly had never heard of, and Sean pushed me to go see it, which I think was a great idea. It's called Caught Stealing. So, Sean, since you recommended it, you run the reins on this one.
All right, I like that you let me run the reins for some of these in the beginning. It's nice. So let me put it right here. We tried very hard to find Megalopolis. Um, movie's apparently so bad it's nowhere on streaming, and you can't even buy it. Apparently, well, let alone we're not buying that. I mean, spending $20 on a rental or whatever for a movie on demand, that's one thing. Buying a movie outright, especially Megalopolis, I'm a little less inclined. But anyways, I had saw the trailer for this movie, Caught Stealing. It honestly, I think I saw it with you at one of the other movies we saw, and immediately I was like, okay, this seems pretty interesting. And as soon as I knew it was Darren Aronofsky, um, I was like, dude, we gotta lock in. But I was like, this is so out there for him. And you're gonna hear us say this 10 million times during this movie, but this is like if Darren Aronofsky was like, I'm gonna make a Guy Ritchie movie, this is that movie. Like it's so out there, but it's also like so but because it's Darren Aronofsky, it also touches on the human condition too. But like it's also so out there that like you don't really think about that during the movie. It's kind of like, oh wow, like we kind of actually saw a really interesting character study while literal fucking chaos is going on the entire movie. Like, and the cast was out of this world too. I mean, Regina King, holy shit. She was so good in this movie. Unreal.
I mean, that's something that I think you really hit the nail on the head there, is it feels like a Guy Ritchie movie in every possible way, which take it as you will. If you love Guy Ritchie movies, you're going to love this kind of thing. If you don't like that style, you're going to struggle to really sit through this.
Mm-hmm.
But I love the whole aesthetic of the movie. So the basic plot is you have, was it Adam Butler plays
Austin Butler.
yeah, I always want to call him Adam. Do I know anybody at this point? Between what
No.
happened last week and now, I'm convinced that I'm slipping.
I think that's kind of the charm of this, though, is that we have a lot of like faux pas and like malapropisms, like our hero,
Wow, big
Carmine
words.
Carmine Jr. Yeah, no, Brainless the Second. Truly, we're all about the the sacred and the propane. Like. But anyways,
But so Austin Butler plays Hank in this, who's just kind of your average guy. There's nothing special about him. He works at a bar. He's got like a on again, off again girlfriend fling kind of thing,
mm-hmm.
and he's just your everyday dude. And it's set in the '90s, right? Like late '90s.
98, which is like
Yeah,
such a random fucking year too. Because
I
like
know, right?
so many 90s movies, I feel like it's either like 99 or like 91. Mostly because 91, you have a lot of shit going on with like the fucking race riots and shit in LA, rooftop Koreans and shit. 99 because like Y2K, and then like I don't know, for like being quirky and going to like some like OJ Menendez brother shit, 94, but 1998 is when this movie takes place. Very, very random.
Well, I liked it. Like it was a cool idea that the whole thing is he's just this everyday guy, and his neighbor, played by Matt Smith, who was Matt Smith. You recognize him in every role he's in because he just has that kind of face that you
Mm-hmm.
can pick about in a crowd like that. And he's dressed like he's a member of the Sex Pistols.
Is that the best you can do? I've got to fly back to London. I need you to take care of my cat.
I like cats.
Every like every time you see him on screen, you're like, he's like this classic like rock and roll kind of guy, like punk rocker, and you're like, oh my
Mhm.
god, he literally is just a member of the Sex Pistols. But his name is Russ, and he's like, hey, my dad just had a stroke. I gotta go see my dad. He's British, so he's like, I'll go see my dad. Like that was really bad impression, but
He's dying of a stroke.
yeah, and he like they have the whole neighbor who's always like, guys, you're yelling, which is a great bit, by the way. And
Yeah,
we'll get
yeah, like, I love the cuck neighbor who's just, like, literally can only refer to this guy as a cuck because he just comes out, he's like, "Oh, like, be quiet, guys," and then, like, the minute he faces, like, any opposition, he just fucking runs for the hills.
it's like, tell him to shut the fuck up. But like, so Russ is like, hey, I gotta go take care of my dad. He had a stroke. I think he's dying. Can you watch my cat? And he's like, Hank's like, yeah, sure, I'll watch a cat. Totally fine. And absolute chaos ensues. Like almost the second Russ leaves, it's like they have uh they have Yvonne, his girlfriend, Hank's girlfriend, come over, who's played by Lenny Kravitz's daughter, Zoe Kravitz.
Zoe Kravitz, yep.
She's phenomenal in everything she's in. She really has a great talent for being an actress. But
For sure. I mean, like, sometimes I feel like she plays, like, the same, like, aloof hot chick role, but she always adds, like, enough of a flair to it. I mean, uh, honestly, some of the best actors and actresses are people who play heightened versions of themselves, but then you get scenarios where, like, you're like, "Oh, wow, Kevin Spacey really was, like, half of his characters." Okay, you know?
in the worst possible way.
In the worst possible way, but no, like, she plays a really, um, aloof kind of wanting to go this next step with him, but also kind of, like, recognizing that he's kind of
It's kind of like a deadbeat in a way. Like he's
yeah.
not going up anywhere in life. He is where he is.
Well, he's a broken man because the reveal comes in probably about half an hour in or so that so he's obsessed with so this is why I say 98 is especially random, is that he's obsessed with the Giants because he's from the Bay Area. He's gonna be on the not the fucking New York Giants, fuck that. He's wants to be on the San Francisco Giants, and his mom was his coach. I guess he didn't have a father figure in his life. They don't really tackle that, but he was pretty much about to get drafted. Guy's an ace, and loves his beer, even when he was 18,
Who
and
doesn't?
yeah, I know, truly, who doesn't? But gets in a car crash in like the most dramatic fashion possible. Like they do this like slow motion thing of like the car wrapping around the pole, probably like 4 or 5 times in the movie. But I mean, like it's sick to watch every time. But yeah, no, he kills like his best friend at the time for drunk driving, which you said it immediately, and I'm like, how the fuck did he not get in trouble for this? But like, I don't know, maybe he did when they just didn't, and it was just kind of implied. I don't know how do like,
Yeah, they did a whole thing like later on in the movie. He's talking to his mom. And he's like, "Oh, I killed my best friend." And it's like this conversation. You never hear the mom's side of the conversation. He's like, "No, I did it. It wasn't an accident." So I'm like, there. It's implied that there was some weird thing going on. That it's
uh
like,
huh,
okay, maybe like his mom knew the police, like the detective leading it or whatever. Like it's implied that there's something that happened where it's like, okay, this kind of just went by the wayside,
yeah,
and
like they
he
almost like
hasn't
ruled it.
dealt with it.
Like they almost ruled it like a. He says something like it wasn't an accident or something, which like what the fuck? What did the beer cans magically go to fuck it? Did the Great Gazoo come out and be like, "Ooh, go away, beer cans"? Like, bro, like what the fuck?
He's
Like,
got like 20 of them in the car, and they're like, who could have done this? Curious. But like the whole movie has this great thing where he keeps like waking up at these random times with a kind of flashback, and they eventually pan to that. Like they cut to it at one point where you can kind of understand he still feels this guilt where he wakes up like every day in like a cold sweat, and he's like, "Oh my god," because it's a flashback he keeps having of this. But the movie just goes off the rails. Not even probably like 20 minutes into the movie, right?
mm-hmm.
Because once Russ leaves, all of a sudden you have these like what were they Russians, right? The Russians or like
Yeah,
something like that.
yes, Russian mob. So
Yeah,
you get two different sides of New York. You get Russian mob and you get Jewish mob too. But originally he thinks they're Ukrainian mob, and then there's like, no, they're not Ukrainian.
It's a whole like almost like the Sopranos moment when they're like in the woods, and he's like, "Oh, he was with the interior defense," and he's like, "He's an interior decorator. His place looked like shit."
He was with the Interior Ministry. Guy, some kind of Russian Green Beret.
Guy was an interior decorator. His house looked like shit.
It kind of reminded me of that a little bit. But, like,
Yeah.
it was really interesting because these guys are clearly bad dudes, and they're trying to get into Russ's apartment. So Hank's like, "Hey, what's going on here? Do you guys like know Hank or whatever?" And then they just beat the shit out of him, like relentlessly, to the point that they rupture his spleen from kicking him so hard.
Mm-hmm.
Which one of the Russian mobsters, I am still convinced, I don't care what anything says, that guy was trying to do like a NoHo Hank impression from Barry.
What are you doing?
Come on, get up.
Can't talk to each other on the phone.
Like, he looks exactly the same. He has the bald hair and everything, and he is like really weirdly over the top, where he keeps calling Hank Mr. Baseball, and he's like all up in his face, like, "Oh, Mr. Baseball." Like, it very much seems like he watched NoHo Hank and tried to copy that to be, but like in a more deranged way than NoHo Hank was.
Mm-hmm.
But you quickly find that it's like, okay, so Russ was into some really deep bad shit. So after finally figuring, he's like, "All right, I got to figure this out." He gets visited by the police. Hank tells him, he's like, "Hey, I just got beat up by these guys. I don't really know anything." The lead detective is really kind of sketchy the whole time. She's like, "Well, if you know anything, tell me. Like, you got to tell me like anything you know."
Yeah,
Eventually,
she's like giving like her best like, gritty cop, like trying to like mess around with him, but also being like, I'm here for you, right? And like she plays it like this for about half of the movie, and then the reveal comes that, oh nope, she's crooked and was working for them, because like they're sitting in a diner after everything goes awry, and we'll talk about how everything kind of went awry at that point. But she's like, yeah, no, just waiting for backup, and like you think these cops are coming, and then of course you got the two Russian goons and Bad Bunny pulling up. Which Bad Bunny's character was interesting, kind of a fake tough guy, but like also like witty and like kind of scary.
am I
Colorado was
old
his
because
name.
I don't know who Bad Bunny is?
Yes.
Well, I know that there was rumors that he was going to be like a Spider-Man villain in like that Sony universe where there's no Spider-Man, so it doesn't really make sense. But like, they were talking about him being like El Muerto, which is a super weird Spider-Man deep cut to also not have Spider-Man. But I don't know who Bad Bunny is, and I don't know who Action Brosnan is either. I'll be honest with you.
Oh my god, bro! Come on, man! Like Action
You
Bronson,
know what I listen to.
Yeah, I know, but even like beyond him being a rapper, he's in a lot of movies. Like, you know what I was watching yesterday when I was home? He's literally in The Irishman. Like at the end of The Irishman, he's like a coffin salesman to Robert De Niro. And then he's also in The King of Staten Island. I mean, he's not like in a ton of movies, but like I don't know, it's plausible to believe him. But he was he was an interesting side character for sure. Same with the guy who owned the bar, Paul. That guy I thought was very interesting. But
That was a really cool character, and I liked that he was just like this secret kind of badass almost. Where there's that great scene where he's like, "Hold on, I gotta get the money from the safe," and it leads to the craziest shootout. Like, that was really well done, but the whole movie goes completely haywire once, for some reason or another. Hank at one point is like, "Oh, I just got to clean out the cat's litter box," and he notices that one of the turds from the cat is a fake turd, like a toy turd. You can squeeze it, and he finds a key in there, and he's like, "Well, this key clearly leads to something," and that's when everything just goes off the rails. The violence is almost kind of over the top. It's a little bit more turned down than like what Tarantino does. Tarantino has it like where everyone's blood pressure is like 1,000 over 2 million, where everyone's just spurting blood all over the place. But like, this is more like the impacts of each hit really are felt because it's more visceral than it is of like over the top to be over the top. But you keep getting introduced to like these different factions. Like they had the Jewish mob in there as well. So they have them in the traditional like Hasidic Jew garb, right? And it's just like the craziest thing because they're coming at him with these machine guns and chasing him down. Like it's the most off the rails movie, but I really liked that. I thought of like it added to it because it was something different rather than every movie. A lot of movies now feel like they're kind of the same, where it's like it's a remake, it's a sequel, it's based on this, based on that. I know this is based on a book, but like it was nice to have something where it's like, oh, this is totally different. This is not. I never would have watched this if you didn't say anything about it.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was one of those movies where I was like very shocked to hear that well, I wasn't like shocked, but I was like disappointed that it didn't do like super great at the box office, but just, I mean, because it's really out there. But I think it's one of those movies where it's going to definitely become a cult classic. It's very like out there. And there's a lot of twists and turns, and it's one of those movies where like some of the times it kind of like tells you what's going to happen in almost an obvious way, but it's so out there that you don't believe it. Like, for one thing, when she so obviously from the jump, Roman, she is telling him like, oh yeah, like these Drucker brothers played by Liev Schreiber and Vincent D'Onofrio, which holy fuck, I need to see those two as a duo in more movies. Their chemistry was fucking out of this world. Oh my god. And their Carol Kane playing their grandma, Bubby. She was also a great little side character in it. But she's telling him from the jump, like, yeah, like my guys are fucked up and we beat up people, but like we didn't kill your girl because spoiler alert, Yvonne, Zoe Kravitz's character, gets killed about a third way through of the movie. And obviously, Hank is convinced, Austin Butler's character is convinced, okay, um, I'm really only dealing with the Russians and Colorado. And like, yeah, I just got chased by the Jew mob, but like at the same time, like why would they kill her? Like they, only why would they have that motive? And Roman's like, well, like they that sounds like their MO, like, they kill people just to prove like not to fuck with them. And but I mean, we kind of just think, she's such a bullshitter. We think that's bullshit. And then we get to the last like 25 minutes and fucking he used a cigarette lighter to escape his bondage at one point. Just roll with me here. 1998. This movie
Also,
goes off
credit
the
to
rip.
them having like a cigarette lighter in the cars because that is a very '90s thing. Because like even I remember growing up like the early 2000s, I thought it was so cool to like press in the cigarette lighter on the car and then watch it like kind of pop out and then keep doing that. Probably
Oh
super
yeah,
unsafe that I did that a lot, but like it's one of those things that like you don't see those in cars now. So I
no.
appreciate like that attention to detail is really well done.
Oh, the attention to detail the whole time, just like as an aside before I finish this thought, is that a lot of biopics nail, like, they get the aesthetic right, but this movie just like nailed 1998 aesthetic so fucking well that like I could plausibly believe it took place then, like it was filmed then. Like obviously, top tier quality camera wise, cinematography wise, of course, but like not for a moment was I ever unimmersed from the setting of it, which even in the best biopics, sometimes something will take me out of it from an immersion standpoint. But regardless, so you know, during the last bit of it where it's like, okay, he might actually kind of have like a happy ending here. Of course, the brothers um pull out a lighter to light a cigarette, and it's Yvonne's gun lighter. And surprise, surprise, it literally turns out what she said about the brothers killing Yvonne to send a message to him was true. And that was like, and keep in mind, the past hour or so of content prior to this point was like balls to the fucking wall with maybe like 5 minutes of reprieve. and then you have this shit on top of that. The crash out is crazy. Like, Hank, this guy was put through the goddamn ringer. Like, oh my god.
I gotta say, I appreciate a lot of the dark humor in the movie as well. Like, he didn't try and do too much humor, but when it did, it hit just right. Like, there's a whole sequence where the Hasidic Jewish mob they take Hank and they're like, all right, you gotta come with us because it's Shabbos, right? And they're like, we gotta we gotta see our mom, we gotta say hello. So they strip search him and then they're talking and trying to figure out like what to do with him. And then afterwards they're like, all right, well, we're gonna go and we're gonna take down like the opposing mob because he says they have the key, that everyone's searching for the key. So he's like, he said that they have the key. So they're about to go in the car and the mom's like, you guys can't drive, it's Shabbos. Like, what are you doing? You're not allowed to drive. Like, that's the whole thing. You can't like do any physical labor or things like that on, like, I think it's Sunday, something like that. And I thought it was so funny that it's like the idea that these two guys who kill people for a living and are like mobsters are being told, "Oh, you can't drive because it's Sunday," and they look and they turn, they go, "Well, he's half Jewish," and they point to Hank, just making it up, being like, "He's half Jewish, he can drive." She goes, "Well, how is he going to drive?" And he goes, "The half of him that isn't Jewish." Like, like I thought that was so good that it's like, oh, okay, sure. And the ridiculous idea that these two guys who were just professional hitmen and like absolute sociopaths are like, oh wait, our mom says we can't do this. Hold on. They're like, oh, their grandma, whatever. They're like, she says we can't do it. So you got to do it. We got to be honest to her. We got to come back home. We promised her we would. Like, I think that was really good. The whole like lizard scene too, where Paul's the bar owner and he's like, they shot my lizard. Like,
They shot Action Bronson. They shot my lizard. Like, what the fuck?
and it's like the ridiculousness too of they have a great scene where it's a gunfight where Paul is shooting through like a hole in a bulletproof door and he's just blasting shots from a shotgun and they're all shooting like pistols back and forth and it's so crazy over the top. And one of my favorite scenes of the movie is they're like, all right, Hank, slide the key through that hole and we can get you out of just like silence. They're all trying to be like, who's gonna move? It's just a shot of the door.
Yeah.
It's like that stuff like that was really well done. And like you said, the movie was very much like balls to the wall. It's like once it starts, it doesn't let go. It's just like
No.
go, 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 go. And it's like next scene, next scene, next scene. Usually I don't love that kind of stuff. Usually I'm like, okay, give me at least a minute. But I think for this, it kind of worked to its favor.
Mm-hmm.
It's really something that like the pacing of this movie is really well done. At the moments where they needed a little bit of levity, they had it. But at the moments where they needed it to be darker, they also had that. Like when Hank's getting interrogated by the Russian mob and they're pulling his stitches out with pliers, or they're pulling the staples out of his wound with pliers. Perfectly like dark and gritty. But then also the exact right moment of levity where the running gag of the neighbor comes in again and he hears Hank screaming, so he knocks on the door and he's like, Hank, are you okay? And they're like, tell him to shut the fuck up or we'll kill you. And he's like, he has to be like, oh, leave it the fuck alone, Dwayne. That was the name, was Dwayne. They're like, shut the fuck up, Dwayne. Go home, Dwayne. And they're like, shut up, Dwayne. They're all yelling. Like everyone in this room is all yelling at Dwayne. And he's like, okay.
Like, he just made websites, dude. All he did was he just made websites. They like,
which
oh my god,
I love
that was awesome.
I love that they pan it as if that's a stupid idea to build websites because again, it's 1998. Like, I love that they're like, what does he do? He builds websites. Okay, like it's the stupidest thing you could ever do, and he's just wasting his time by doing it.
My dude's working from home in fucking 1998.
Yeah,
making
he had the
websites,
life,
bro.
man.
Yeah,
But
dude.
I love when Hank's getting the shit kicked out of him and he's like, Dwayne, call the police. He's like, I'm gonna call the cops. He's like, no, Dwayne, seriously, call the police. Because Dwayne always threatens to call the police but never does. So it's like this whole running gag of that. He's like, He's like hiding behind the door, like who's the guy? He reminds me of the guy from Office Space, right? You know the
Oh,
guy.
Milton,
Yeah,
the
he
guy
reminds me of
played by
Milt from
Steven.
Office Space. Can you
That's
get me a
not nice.
stapler?
Gonna miss stapler. That's how I feel like I've been disrespected.
And he's like,
Uh,
I'm gonna burn this place to the ground. Like he reminds me a lot of Milton from Office Space. And I think this movie
yeah.
kind of needed something like that. But
hmm
again, it's just at the right spots. It's nothing where it's like they don't overdo it. Like when I was talking with some of my coworkers, they were telling me about the podcast and how wrong we were about Hubie Halloween, which I will never say I was wrong about that.
What?
Yeah, I will never say I was wrong about that movie. That
Well,
movie
so
sucks.
wait, so what do you mean? Are you wait? Like, are you telling me there are people who unironically like that movie and like thought it was good? Because like you
Yes.
could like that movie and think it was bad. Like,
No, they
I
watch
don't.
it like some of them watch it every Halloween.
I mean, I would watch it again, like for a fucking laugh, but I don't think it's fucking good. Like,
They're like, it's not bad. I'm like, yes, it is. It's objectively bad. They're like, you didn't
no
laugh at the
disrespect.
like. They did the whole thing of they're like, oh, you didn't laugh at tying it all back in. They're like, you didn't laugh at the running gag of like the grandma with the shirt that says boner donor and like all this stuff. Running gags are okay, but you don't want to abuse them. Adam Sandler abuses running gags to the point where you're like, oh my god, this movie is a running gag. That's all it is,
Yeah, and
nonstop. Like,
I, I mean, and don't get me wrong. I thought that was funny, but like for all the wrong reasons. I didn't think that was like funny on like. I thought it was more funny of like, what the fuck is wrong? Like, how dumb do you think the audience is? Like, I don't know. No
well, yeah,
disrespect to your coworkers. I mean, I'm sure they love Hubie Halloween and all respect, man. I mean, one thing about flicks and flops, we respect all opinions, but that's I would quadruple, quintuple, whatever you want, octuple down on my opinion on that movie. But that's all.
but that's the difference is like between a legitimate filmmaker and then a non-legitimate filmmaker. You see what I'm saying? Like
Uh, for sure.
the whole thing in this, the running gag of Dwayne was fine because they didn't overdo it. It just came in at
No.
just the right moments. It only happens like a maximum of 4 times in this movie, I want to say.
Yeah.
It's never out of place because it's things that would make sense. Like this is a movie that yes, it gets very off the rails, but
hmm
in a sense still has a little bit of grounding in reality in the aspect of if you heard someone screaming, your nosy neighbor, you'd knock on the apartment door and be like, what's going on? And Dwayne is that kind of guy. It's like anytime something happens, it's like, oh, fucking Dwayne again. Oh my god, here we go. So like I appreciated that they didn't overdo it on that. But I also love when they bring Matt Smith back. So when Russ comes back, he admits to Hank that he was like, "Oh yeah, no, I'm like a drug dealer, and I'm neither of the mobs. So neither of like the crooked cop mob, that whole kind of thing, and then the
hmm
Hasidic Jewish mob. He's like, neither of them trust each other. So I've been handling all of the money." And Hank's like, "Well, what are you gonna do with the money?" He's like, yeah, "I don't know. Yeah, I can't. They don't trust me, and I don't trust them." So like, it's this whole thing. Like, it's just in a storage unit, and it's a shitload of money. And he's like,
Like $4 million just like in a fucking storage unit behind like dudes like whole collection of like 80s and 90s like leather jackets and shit. Like crazy work. But also like the fact that Russ is like so brutally honest, like he almost drops, and I remember you said this would have happened. He drops this like exposition dump when he comes back, but like I fucked with it though because they do those throughout this movie, but it's always done in a way where it seems like realistic dialogue and not like it's not like just regurgitating like the plot just to keep it moving. Like it seems like something he'd plausibly say. But he's like, yeah, no, like I'm a bad dude. Like I work for these guys. Like yada yada. Like he's selling drugs in the nightclubs. Like Roman is a corrupt cop. She like is a degenerate and like owes money to the Russians boss. Like I was trying to split the money, and like my dad actually had a stroke, mate. Like what the fuck? The fact that dad actually had a stroke and fucking died, that threw me the fuck off. I'm like, no fucking way.
I love when he's like, "Oh, they thought I skipped town because like they thought I was trying to avoid them and skip town." And when Hank's like, "Well, did you?" And he goes, "No, my dad died." And it's like, it's just like he looks at him like he's like, "What the fuck is wrong with you? Why would you ask me that?" He's like, "No, my dad fucking died." And he's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And it's just like that quick bit of humor was just right up my alley. Where it's like,
Yeah.
normally I don't love exposition dumps. I don't love when that happens because it's just like I understand. I have enough media literacy to get what's going on here, and I can retain the information. But this, it kind of works where it's Russ doing it because
Mhm.
he's the worst person to be doing it because he's just so insane. And of course, his license plate was like Russ Hole or something like that, right? When they were like pulling away in his car. But the whole like aspect of the movie where once they finally get all the money, after he was like, "No, I didn't run away from them. My dad fucking died." Almost immediately afterwards, he's like, "All right, Hank, we need to run away from them." He's like, "We're gonna take the money and we're gonna go." It's like I love that quick turn of events where he's like, he quickly realizes he's fucked, and he's like, instead, let's leave." Like,
Yeah.
I think that was really well done. The whole scene where it's like they have this kind of car chase almost felt a little unnecessary at times, where it's like that felt a little too over the top
Mhm.
and didn't really do much for the movie because you kind of already knew where everybody stood at that point in the movie anyway. But I do love that they have this whole theme of Hank causes death everywhere he goes.
Yes.
He killed
Like
his best friend.
mhm.
You know, he ends up killing Russ by accident. You know, Russ goes into his apartment and he hits him in the head with a baseball bat. He gets a concussion or whatever, and then he hits him again in the head later on. And then eventually he just kind of falls asleep and dies. Like,
Yeah.
in a very unceremonious way, too. But I love that it just happens so casually. And of course, more great humor. When he dies, Hank just leaves him on the train and he walks out, and then Russ's body kind of slumps over to the next person. The next person's like, "Oh, okay," pushes him away, completely not knowing what is happening, and just goes, "Oh, like, oh, he's drunk." Like, I think that was really well done. But I love that whole theme of like they get into that human element of like you can't escape your past,
Yeah.
and Hank's past is that he killed someone and didn't acknowledge it. Right? He kind of just was like, "I killed my best friend in a drunk driving accident." He never paid for it, right? He never had to go to jail. He never did anything. There was never like that kind of cathartic moment for him where he's like, I can move on or like pay my debt to society. So I thought that was really cool. They kind of like go through that element of like he has made this mistake and he's going to keep repeating this mistake until he owns up to it.
Yeah, I mean there's always kind of this like denial of being of like opening up. Like he's a you see a very interesting shift in the last half hour where he like kind of finally comes clean to his mom like on the phone in Coney Island where he like also like the fact this guy just like passes out in random places and just like nothing happens to him. Very very interesting. 1998 was a different time apparently. But like
You
when
weren't
he
even born in '98. Or you were, yeah.
we both were what the fuck?
Dude,
Okay.
you know math isn't my strong suit. Give me a minute.
Yeah.
I was thinking 93.
Nah, bro. Math isn't my strong suit either. We're both in level 3 math. Anyways. Um no, it's just when he finally does come clean, he just becomes a fucking badass. Like that he was always capable of being. Cause like, not for nothing, he basically is kind of like just scared and gets the shit kicked out of him, but finally once he locks the fuck in, he fucks up the what do you call it? crazy Russian guy. He had like some nickname like Battery Acid. It was like something stupid. The NoHo Hank wannabe, Bizarro Hank. And then he the way he pulls like a gotcha on Regina King where like she kind of gets the upper hand on him, but then he uses a broken baseball bat and fucking stabs it in her foot and like basically locks her right up for the Drucker brothers, Liev Schreiber and Vincent D'Onofrio to fucking kill her. Like he just locks in and realizes like it's his own destiny. But then he kind of like fades back into that reserved personality until he sees them break out the lighter, and then he just crashes the car, kills the brothers, and then fucking escapes posing as Russ. And I love that he genuinely bonded with the cat. Shout out to Bud the cat. That cat had been through fucking hell and back in this movie. I mean, the Russians even beat the shit out of the cat at one point.
Yeah,
The
the
cat,
cat bit one of the Russians and he kicked it.
yeah, and that's actually a twist where um, he acts like he bluffs and acts like he doesn't have the key, but he actually hid the key in the cat's cast, which the idea of the cat having a cast is like what the oh my
Which
god.
I called that, by the way.
You did. He
When he
did.
broke the key, I was like, he's gonna put it in the cat's cast. And then after all this like bloodshed and mayhem, they're like, all right, so where really is the key? And he's like, hey, it's been right here the whole time.
He
Like,
did. Yeah, you called
he's
that
a very
immediately.
smart guy. And I love that like he was thinking outside the box in this kind of thing. And I like that he was like, I'm giving into what I am, and I am a kind of killer in this situation. He's got that cold blooded instinct and mentality when he needs it. But
Mhm.
we also haven't really talked about how it was Vincent D'Onofrio, who I didn't even recognize as one of the Hasidic Jewish guys. Like, that was phenomenal. The brothers kind of reminded me of a little bit of like Boondock Saints in a way.
Yes, yes. They oh my god. I was trying to figure out what kind of vibe that yes, that's the perfect comparison. And that's why I want to see those two act together again because like I mean they're both fucking so good and everything, but their chemistry was like out of this world, honestly. Which is like you really got an Italian dude and not for nothing, like an actual Jewish guy. I mean, I think Lee Schreiber's half Jewish, but regardless, like the fact that I plausibly believe that one of the most Italian dudes in the business, fucking Vincent D'Onofrio, was a Hasidic gangster, was very, very impressive. Oh man, but the thing is like the way we're talking about this movie, you'd think it's like some Tarantino, Guy Ritchie, and there's definitely that kind of vibe to it, but it's also, like, weirdly grounded too, and I don't and I'm having a hard time of how to explain how it is. It's really one of those things where you have to watch it, and I think you'll get it because I never it is crazy, but in those movies, there's kind of a heightened sense of reality, and I wouldn't say that there's that kind of heightened sense of reality in this so much as it's just this is really, like, the peak of everything that kind of happens in it could be weirdly plausible, but
I mean,
uh,
I appreciate that about the movie, though. Is that, like, it's got that sense of realism to it where you're like, okay, there really could be this mob, and, like, there could be some dire consequences for fucking around with them. I appreciate that aspect mixed with the kind of, like, Guy Ritchie, Tarantino over the topness. You know what I mean? Like, when speaking of Tarantino, I think they just did they put both versions of Kill Bill together.
okay.
That's something we got to keep an eye on too because that's a trip.
Yeah, I mean, I love Kill Bill. I absolutely would give that a watch again for sure. So, food for thought.
But this whole movie just I think it was much better than anything I could have expected because we like you said at the beginning, we were trying to find Megalopolis originally because I was like I got to see how bad this movie really is.
Mhm.
And when we couldn't find it, it asked you like, "Hey, do you have any recommendations then at this point?" Because I don't know. You immediately were like, "Yeah, it's caught stealing," and half the people I never heard of, and I was like, I don't know what this movie is, but let's try it. And it was a stellar recommendation because really, it's like it was something I would never have expected. But like I said
Mm-hmm.
earlier, I don't know if I would have ever watched it on my own merit because I
Yeah.
don't know if I would have found it. It's one of those movies that like it's not marketed really well at all.
Mm-hmm. No.
And it's on Netflix now, which I don't even have Netflix. We had to go over to your place because I don't have it.
Yep.
So like it's it's the kind of movie where I'm like, I'm surprised that no one's talking about it more, but at the same time, they're not doing anything to kind of sell the movie. It's
No.
like you said, it feels like it's gonna end up being a cult classic, you know what I mean? Like it's not like a cult classic in the way of The Room where it's like it's so bad that you have to see it. It's just one of those movies that's like if you've seen it, like Clerks, if you've seen it, you'll love it. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
But there are a lot of people who haven't seen it and probably never will. But the people who have, it's like that kind of you're in that group, you're in that circle of like, oh, you've seen Caught Stealing. Oh, okay, cool. So you like it. You saw it, you like it. You wouldn't seek this movie out if you don't like that kind of thing.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't. You definitely have to have all the comparison points we've made throughout this episode. You definitely need to think like, okay, am I into these sort of things? Which, like, not for nothing, like Darren Aronofsky is one of those guys where he's done so many different types of movies. He's done like psychological dramas, sports dramas, psychological horror. He did a fucking movie about Noah's Ark. He did um like The Whale with Brendan Fraser, and like he's one of those ones where he's an auteur, like his style, but at the same time he doesn't stick in like one genre. So I would say going with an open mind, you'll really enjoy it. I think if you go into it with an open mind and just really understand you're watching the story of a broken man put into an absurd circumstance and how he's somehow able to heal in spite of that.
Wow, that was beautiful.
Thanks, man. I practiced it in front of the mirror 20 times
I was gonna
before
say,
this
did you
podcast.
rehearse that?
No, just kidding. I literally said that off the dome.
No, sometimes we are just really smart, aren't we?
Yeah, let's not give ourselves too much credit, bud.
Well, that'll do it for this episode. So I think overall, if you're looking for this movie, you're gonna like it. But keep in mind, it's that kind of style that it's very particular. If you don't like that kind of over the top, like we said, kind of Guy Ritchie, Tarantino kind of thing, you're not gonna really like this. But if you're into that, you got a great movie that you're gonna have actually a really fun time with. But
No doubt.
that'll do it for this episode. So we will catch you all on the next one.